All right, now.
This is the Jamal Show.
Sit one around. Coffee ready. Give me a little volume.
This is the Jamal Show.
All right.
This is the Jamal Show.
The show's called Accountability. All right, we can start coming in now.
This is the Jamal Show.
Good morning, folks. I am back. We have a lot to get to today. I hope your hands are nice and clean. You're going to need your hand cleans for the show because we get down and dirty in here. Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has entered the building. It's my honor to welcome you to the Jamal Show, the place to get intelligent. I am your host from Harlem. My name is Jamal, and I'm only in town once every 2 weeks, so you are in luck today, let me tell you. As always, I find it a great day to be alive. Unfortunately, over 87,000 Americans cannot enjoy this day with us due to COVID-19. One of that 87,000 this past week included an old friend of mine that I grew up with and to whom I dedicate this particular podcast. His name is Jason Alston. I've known Jason for decades. He grew up right across the street from where I grew up in Lexington Projects. And the thing that I remember him most for was our spades games with other friends. Jason was a fierce spades player. You might know one yourself and your family. And I remember when we were kids, during the summer we would play spades all day into the evening while everybody else was playing basketball. I never was into sports too big as a kid. I was strange that way. And in fact, our spades play migrated into our adult years and even into this pandemic. I don't live in New York City anymore, but Jason and I and some other friends were playing spades online just about 2 or 3 weeks ago to try to get ourselves through this boredom of being home all day. The fact that we are playing online meant that I couldn't see or hear Jason coughing during our gameplay. I couldn't hear how sick he was. We didn't have cameras up. I didn't know he had the coronavirus. Yesterday, after he died, friends began to tell me about how he was indeed coughing quite a bit before he had to be convinced to go to a hospital. I should point out that it only takes 40 so years to be a Jason. He was only in his 40s. So for those that think that this disease doesn't affect young people, think again. But at the same time, I also acknowledge that he had other illnesses. He had other factors in his health that he had to be concerned about. In any case, Jason Alston has now transitioned. He's joined his brother Irving, who I also knew as a child and who I was childhood friends with. Irving was killed in a motorcycle accident many years ago when I was a teenager. And now this. I'm wishing both of them a peaceful journey to their next state of being. Much love to his family and friends. I hope to play spades with Jason in heaven one day. If I make it there, I got a long way to go. But I'm working with a bishop, so I got a head start. Other than that, the tradition of the great man, Fred Rogers, lives through me. Good morning, my neighbors. This will be a coronavirus stay-at-home episode part 5. If you figured out that there are 4 parts before this, then you deserve a cookie. Mind you, there was only supposed to be one Jamal Show special on the coronavirus. But that was before we were all sent to our rooms for a few months to chill out. So we are just playing it by ear here at the Jamal Show as we all go through this together. Interesting note, on my way here this morning, I got into an Uber, and it was a black female driver, very attractive. And we're talking, and she just like blurts, and that's why I voted for Trump. And I'm like, wow, most Trumpsters, they're not as open, and, we're talking. And she's like, well, I'm not a Trumpster, but I voted for Trump. And it's all because of that Hillary. So I just found that really odd, People are kind of confessing their Trump nightmares to me, in the middle of this without me even asking. So it's kind of interesting. And, this whole thing kind of strikes me as funny. You know how we talk about the 1918 flu? You might have heard a lot of talk about that recently. People have always compared this coronavirus to the 1918 flu pandemic here in America. Well, one day, 100 years from now, people will be talking about this pandemic. They'll be talking about us and how we responded and how many people died, etc. So we're kind of living history, as unfun as this is. And as I said before, there will be a few content creating stars made during this period. Hopefully, I'm one of them. I believe that people will take advantage of this time when everybody's stuck at home looking for things to do and stuff to watch online. You see everyone releasing albums. I've mentioned this time and time again. Now, the theme of this particular broadcast is accountability. I very much thank you for being with us. Because, if it's Saturday, it's the Jamal Show, the place to get intelligent live, and on your favorite podcasting network. My name is Jamal. I'm your host from Harlem, coming straight from the Hartford, Connecticut studios of WKND. And I just happen to be here waiting in line for a coronavirus test. That's what I'm doing here. So, as I said before, we have a lot to cover today, including a caller. But before we get into this fine hour of infotainment, I got to take care of some chores that I do every week. First of all, good morning to the bishop, who is with me in the studio as always, nodding his head, the silent strong man of the broadcast. And even though Trump has told him it's okay to open his church, I do not believe he has done so yet. You have not done so. Just confirm that. So you can't come to church yet. Just a note, while I'm in the radio, I am broadcasting live to Facebook and YouTube, because I have many talents and I can do many things at once. But the sound is best while using the TuneIn app for your phone. Just go to WKND 1480 AM. You will be impressed with the sound quality. I promise you that. Now, it's been 2 weeks since you and I have last been together, like old lovers. 2 weeks ago, I tried to convince you that I am authentic. Maybe that's why you listen. I hope so, because authenticity is very important to me. I don't listen or hang with anybody who is not authentic. I want to come off as authentic. I hope I do. But today I want to talk to you about something totally different. And that is accountability. And I'm going to do that in the way that I always do. How is that? Well, I do it by scheming and planning on how to get you all more intelligent. And let me tell you, I lose sleep. I take frustrations out on loved ones. I grit my teeth. I yell at cab drivers, not the one I had this morning. I abstain from sex. Actually, that happens naturally without me trying. I do this all for you, and it's all okay. Because I'm your right-hand man, Jamal from Harlem, your chief information addict. And my goal is to pass the fruits of my addiction right through to you, power listeners. That's my goal on this show, named after me. Now, we run every 2 weeks, so I have some time to watch Donald Trump's latest stand-up comedy routine on the White House stage. Because that's always something for the gossip columns. 2 weeks ago, we were drinking bleach, because that's what we do. That's what he recommended. Today, I await further instruction from that comedy master. Now, if you tell me who your friends are, I can tell you who you are. And what I'm hoping is that you are a friend of the Jamal Show on Facebook, because we need friends right now. Everyone does. There are over 1 million podcasts in the world, and most do not have friends. That's a fact. So please, let's be different from them. As I always say, Joe Rogan ain't getting any easier to compete against. Nor is the Daily Podcast by the New York Times. That's a great podcast, by the way. You should listen to it. I'm the biggest fan of that podcast. He's always like, hi, I'm Michael Barbaro. You should check it out. Believe it or not, I'm not only a very, very impressive podcast host, in my opinion, of course, but I'm also an attorney who can be reached at jamalshowradio@gmail.com. Gotta send a shout out to the Connecticut Criminal Defense Lawyers Association, of which I am a proud member. Now, I hate having to repeat myself, but if I don't tell you, nobody will. We are on every podcast network. Period. I bet you $5 we are. I won't name them anymore. I used to name them every other week, but it sounds boring. We all have better things to do than to repeat the names of Google Podcasts or Apple Podcasts or TuneIn or Stitcher or Spotify. I'm not going to repeat those names again. We have much more important things to discuss. But be sure to check out the podcast I put out last year about how to survive police encounters. That podcast seems strangely relevant these days, and I think we're going to get into that. Oh, and it is still the case that the Jamal Show was featured on Amazon Alexa all over the world, and I love that. So all you got to do is say, Alexa, open the Jamal Show. I hope y'all have an Alexa right now in the room so I can activate it. Alexa, open the Jamal Show. You do have to enable the skill first. To do that, just go to the Alexa Skills Online on the Amazon website. Search for the Jamal Show. It's easy. It's free. It's fun. It provides company to you in your time of need. Here's another really big announcement. I love this. I've been waiting for weeks to tell you all about this. The Jamal store has been built online, but it's not open yet. But it has been built online, the Jamal store. Now, at this store, that's called the caller. At this store, you can share the experience of the Jamal Show with us, the people who create it. We have t-shirts, we have mugs, we have hoodies.
Good, glad to have you.
The store is very nice. I love it.
Okay, we'll be bringing.
You will love it too.
Can you hold this?
And we will be asking for your support.
Likewise.
And I want to talk about money really quickly. This is important. So settle down. Sit down across from me and look me in the eyes right quick. Like everything, the Jamal Show has expenses, including an actual payroll. Recently, we have been looking for more sponsors to help with these expenses. Like Audible, for example. Audible. For those who don't know, Audible is that audiobook company that was bought by Jeff Bezos and Amazon a few years ago. Now, this is important because it ties directly into the theme of today's show, and that is accountability. What we have learned in dealing with huge companies like Audible is that Jeff Bezos, who is currently the richest man in the world, by the way, he doesn't want to be held accountable for the things I say, especially on days like today where there may be some controversial topics discussed. So I got to tell you, I don't blame him. Because what I say won't make everybody happy. It won't make everybody want to get an Audible subscription to listen to audiobooks. So you know what? I think I might actually lose that sponsorship with Audible. But I don't have to. I guess I could change the whole Jamal Show into something that's first and foremost something that corporations like Audible will accept for their brand. I guess I could do that, but I won't because that's not who I am. I came to radio to be me, not the face of a corporation who needs acceptance by everybody to survive. And so if I want support, then I've got to go to the people who actually support me. And I'm not a nonprofit. I don't want to ask my hardworking listeners to just give us money. That seems improper. And since I'm an attorney, I might actually make more money than many of my listeners do. So we are opening the Jamal store with this in mind, with all this in mind. It will definitely be open by our next broadcast in 2 weeks, but it's not open yet. But it is already built, and it will be a place that we at the Jamal Show can ask for your support, and you can get something back in return from us. And it's vintage. Nobody else will have anything like it. It is a legitimate way to share this experience with each other. Now, incidentally, the only reason why it's not open yet is that our shipments for test samples have been held up by the coronavirus. I'm a businessman now who is being hurt by the coronavirus. I have a basic requirement that I test sample every item sold by the store because I cannot sell crap to my listeners. We got mugs, we got hats, we got Jamal Show t-shirts, and I seriously cannot wait until you see this stuff, but I've had to impose some quality controls. So I'm not just going to sell crap to my people. You know what I'm saying? I'm not like somebody, I'm not going to name anybody, but you know what I'm talking about. So I'm still waiting for those samples that I ordered some time ago. When they come and they are satisfactory, when they show themselves to be satisfactory, we will open shop. And I will tell you the website address the next time we broadcast. I pray we have their support because, again, Jeffrey Bezos does not wish to be held accountable for what I said. And you know who else doesn't want to be held accountable for what I said? Well, nobody does, actually, but definitely not my dead mama. Rest in peace and happy belated Mother's Day, Mom. Definitely not the owners of the station. They do not want to be held accountable. Let me say that again. The owners of the station do not want to be held accountable for the things I say. They don't endorse anything I say on the air. And they don't want to be held accountable for it. And that's great, because I don't want to be held accountable for anything they say either. The feeling's mutual. And that's good, because today we have some hot talk. I'm going to talk a little bit about Ahmaud Arbery. I'm going to talk about the divisions we see inherent in the coronavirus isolation enforcement, healthcare, and even in how emergency funds are distributed. So that's what I have for an introduction, folks. As always, if you don't like it, you can't send it back. But if you wish to complain, we do take phone calls live on the air. 860-218-2173. I think we should probably test our phone lines to make sure they work. Do we have someone on the air? let me follow the introduction if you have someone. We're going to go ahead and test our phone lines now. We will prove this theory that we take phone calls right now with a guest who has been on our show a few times. So I consider her a friend. And since she is a friend, I need to get her in and out of this broadcast so she is not held accountable. So she is not held accountable for the things I say later. In truth, her name is Dr. Delise Wunderler. She's a sports medicine doctor and a friend of the Jamal Show from New Jersey. She and I belong to a club that nobody wants to join, the club of parents who have lost children at a very young age. I lost my boy Simon last year while I was recording on the air in this studio. She lost her daughter Vienna in a very similar manner from SUDC, which is sudden unexplained death in children. Anybody who sees me right now on Facebook or YouTube Live can see that I'm wearing a Team Vienna t-shirt. This is in memory of Dr. Denise's daughter and in support of her charity that she started to raise awareness about this condition. So, Dr. Denise, are you there? Tell us why today is an important day.
Hi, Jamal. First of all, thank you so much for having me. And I also want to say I'm so sorry to hear about your friend Jason and his family.
Thank you very
what
much.
they're dealing with now.
Thank you very much. So tell us why today is an important day for you and your organization.
Yeah, so today is the third annual Vienna Day of International SUDC Awareness. And what this this honors my daughter Vienna, like you mentioned, who was 2.8 years old back November 2017 when she fell asleep while watching TV and never woke up. And this is a category of death in kids 1 to 18 where after a thorough investigation, there is no explanation for their death. And this is scarcely known in the medical community, which is why this is so important to get the word out, which is why I'm so appreciative of you, Jamal, of always giving me the opportunity to educate others about this. So that's why we're increasing awareness, education today. People from around the world support. So essentially they are active doing something or volunteering or doing the Max Challenge and maybe wearing a Team Vienna shirt like you. Thank you so much for getting one. That's so awesome. Being active, wearing hot pink color, because that's Vienna's favorite color, and holding a sign saying Team Vienna and your location, Hartford, Connecticut, with the date, and then posting that on social media. On Facebook, it would be tagging me if you're friends with me, Denise Wunderler, or on Team Vienna, SUDC Awareness on Facebook, or on Instagram, it's Team Vienna, the number 4. So Team Vienna 4, SUDC Awareness. And seeing pictures from all over the world come in today. And last year we had all 7 continents representing. And already, Jamal, we have pictures from Sweden, Nepal, Australia, Idaho. So it's really a really interesting and fun day. And, trying to make something positive out of something that's so tragic. And like you mentioned, it is our worst nightmare, every parent's worst nightmare.
That's right. And I want to remind people that this could affect you and your family and your life. We need to spread awareness about this. The first thing I thought when my child died was people don't know that their child can just die after they leave the hospital. People don't know that there are things they can do to reduce the possibility of this happening to them. So, once again, one of the reasons why you're always welcome to my show is because you responded differently to your tragedy, and you're externalizing positivity to try to make sure that people know about this so they're not caught off guard like you were, like I was. So I appreciate that. You'll always have a place here. This is every year. Am I correct?
Absolutely. Every year, it's the Saturday between Mother's Day weekend and Memorial weekend every year.
Okay. Well, I know you're gonna have a really busy day. I'm gonna try to on my break. I'm gonna try to take that picture and send it to you later on. So I'll try to take that picture, and I just want to wish you the best on your day today. Let me know how it was later on, and we will be with you. God bless you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much, Jamal. And also have a great show. I look forward to listening to it as well.
All right. God bless.
Have a good one.
I'll be speaking to you soon, dear. Have a great day. We are going to go ahead and move forward to break. I need to prepare for our next segment and wash my hands. You need to do the same. You're with the Jamal Show on WKND on every podcast network. Why don't you meet me on the other side? I'm going to give you a little Ty Bless. It's a new track called Champagne. I think you'll like it. Bring it up a little.
In the beginning, there was rock.
How's it
We
sounding?
put the elements together.
Good.
We are blessed. bless the MC.
See.
The party has just begun.
You better tell them.
Ladies, get out your seats. Rod, go get that one right there.
I'm on it right now.
Yeah. Check it. We got that room there two-step. We got that room there two-step. Yo.
We're gonna talk about Ahmaud Arbery. It's risky the way I'm gonna do it, but I want to catch people's attention.
Yeah, it's trending. It needs to be talked about.
Yeah, and
And they've been looking at you crazy. You didn't say anything.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
you see a picture of that man. He's so handsome. It almost brings me to tears. You know, they didn't think enough of his life. You know, I couldn't kick a dog in the middle of the street without people calling the cops on me. And the cops would take me to the station. They'd be like, "No, we gotta talk to you for a minute. You can't abuse animals in the middle of the street." You know what I'm saying? But you could shoot a man in broad daylight with a shotgun, and the cops would be like, "Yo, why don't you just go home and we'll catch up with you later." Oh, he was attacking you. Oh, we don't need to talk to you at the station. They bring black men to the station for anything. You know, someone said they saw you last week. Come to the station, sir. You know what I'm
That's not
saying?
even the case.
You know, I mean, I understand that sometimes there's crazy people out here, but not taking dude to the station is just such a slap in the face to his parents.
Yeah. Oh, I got a brother tuned in who's watching. Because I shared the video. He's watching in Springfield.
Oh, really? A video of me?
Yeah, the show.
Oh, really? Okay. Thanks.
Across market.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to upgrade my laptop. A lot of things are going on, but the good thing is I am gonna I'm setting up to buy a car within the next 3 weeks, so then it's gonna be moving up. But we should have a meeting outside of this, obviously. So let's talk later.
Yeah.
Oh wow, we're about to get on. All right, I got a drop that I'm gonna play from Top Left.
Okay.
It's right after this. It's gonna go right into it.
Yeah, boy, it's your man Ty Bless. You're not listening to my boy Jamal Wright Esquire. You hear me? This is the Jamal Show, live on 97.5 WKND Hartford Radio FM.
You are back with the Jamal Show on WKND and on podcast, hosted by me, Jamal from Harlem, lawyer, street philosopher, man who talks to himself, son of Deborah and Carson. It's my pleasure to have you back. As I mentioned earlier, the theme of today is accountability. You're going to hear that word a few times. And it happens to be a good week for that. It's a good week for that because there was a tragic incident that happened a few months ago in Georgia that allows me to tell a story illustrating why we need accountability. Why anybody needs accountability. It happened in February, but this incident just came to light in the past 2 weeks. It's become a national story now, and please pay attention. I'm calling it an incident, not an accident. An incident, not an accident. What happened during this incident ended in the death of Ahmaud Arbery. I believe that's an African name. After which the men responsible for the killing, the father and son pair named McMichaels, got to chill at home for a few months without even having to visit the police station for an interview about having murdered a man in broad daylight. While it shouldn't matter in America, I should note that Ahmaud Arbery is, or was, a young, dark-skinned black man of 25 years. Father and son McMichaels were two white men from the area, one of whom was a former police officer. So just so you get the picture straight, that's 2-on-1. All right? Before I get to anything about their story, because there is a lot to say, I actually want to take the time to reveal my personal story. This is something that happened to me many years ago. I still sometimes have nightmares about it, and I know I'm taking a risk here. And I think you'll understand why I'm choosing to reveal this incident in this way at this time. If you just listen, stay with me. And I also ask that you please don't judge me while I'm doing this. Many years ago, I was chilling in Harlem on a Friday afternoon. Clearly, this was before I moved to Hartford. I was chilling on my block, which is something we do in Harlem. We chill on our block. Harlem's a black area, for those who have never heard of Harlem before. And I see this guy jogging around my neighborhood. I knew he wasn't from Harlem. I knew he wasn't from Harlem, my neighborhood, for two reasons. One, I didn't recognize him. And you know, if I don't recognize you, you're not from the neighborhood, right? Because we all remember everybody from our neighborhood. Number two, he was a white guy. So he must have been like a lost tourist or something. These were the days before Bill Clinton rented an office in Harlem, so we didn't see whites very much in that area. And I immediately got the impression that this guy knew he wasn't in the right neighborhood, but he just thought he could up and jog in any neighborhood that he wanted to. I mean, the nerve of some people, right? He thought he could just jog through any neighborhood, right? He thought he had the freedom to do that. But then the situation got even hotter because when I looked closer at this so-called jogger, I thought I recognized his face. This white jogger was the same guy who falsely testified against a friend of mine like a decade earlier. I had a good friend spend time in prison due to this white guy's false testimony. It looked just like him. Did I know it was him for sure? Yes, because the guy who did the false testimony, you see, he was white too. See how that works? So since the guy who put my friend in jail and the guy who I witnessed jogging were both white, they absolutely had to be the same guy. That's my logic there. See how that works? So that means that the public was now calling on me to perform an action. I heard the public call me. It was like, protect us, Jamal. Protect the public. The public called me to go and have a talk with this white male jogger who clearly came to my neighborhood to do evil because he wasn't from there. So what else could he be there for? Don't tell me he was just jogging. People don't just jog in neighborhoods that aren't theirs. I know this. So anyway, I decided to approach him. Now, I didn't want to approach him alone because then he wouldn't take me seriously. So I had to find an old homeboy to accompany me to approach the gentleman. And oh yeah, as a side note, this is not really that important. As a side note, I was carrying a 12-gauge shotgun. Because why not? Huh? Why not carry a 12-gauge shotgun at all times, just in case you have to point it at somebody to get some answers? Like, hey dude, when's your birthday? Because I want to get you a gift, and don't you dare lie to me because I have this here gun. Like that. I knew it was perfectly within my right to stop a guy who's pretending to be jogging in my neighborhood freely, acting like he's minding his own business, when I know he's hurt people in this neighborhood before. You know, way back in the past. I know it's the same guy because they were both white. And I knew that by pointing a gun at him, he would answer my questions, truthfully. So again, this is why I approached him. Now, yes, I had a 12-gauge shotgun that I pointed at him, but aside from that little fact, I feel like I was overly friendly. I didn't want him to think that just because I was pointing a 12-gauge shotgun at him, that this wasn't a friendly neighborhood. I smiled and everything. I did all this to make him feel more comfortable. I just wanted to know what the hell he was doing hanging around a neighborhood that wasn't his. Nobody does that. Well, I think he might have gotten the wrong message from the shotgun, though. See, I think he got the impression from somewhere. I'm not sure where, but I think he got the impression that I wanted to hurt him. Some people get so overly emotional when they are confronted with two men and a shotgun pointed at them. I mean, that's really my pet peeve of the day. It's like they can't control themselves. People get these crazy ideas in their head like they're in danger whenever some shotgun is pointed their way. They become delusional. I'm like, dude, relax, it's just a shotgun. And you don't know me, so you should know I have no reason to pull the trigger. Now I can stop the story right now and answer a question you've all been asking. You're wondering why I didn't call the police on this white guy who didn't belong where he was. I could have called the police and reported the crime he committed against my friend. That was perjury. But I didn't need to do that because under the law, I can make what's called a citizen's arrest if I was sure that was him. And I was sure it was him because, once again, he was white. What else did I need? The jogger wholeheartedly disagreed with me, though. He acted like he'd never seen me before. And he was a pretty good actor. He grabbed for the gun, acting like he was trying to protect himself, but I knew he was just going to try to shoot me if I let him get away. So I shot him first. That's what I did. And he deserved it because of that perjury he committed like a decade earlier. And he deserved it for attacking me just because I pulled a shotgun out on him. Jeez, some people out there are just so violent. There's only one place for people like that. So when the cops came, this white jogger, he's laying dead in the street, and I was happy to see the police come up to keep us all safe. I told him what happened, that this white criminal came running through a neighborhood that wasn't his, looking for fresh victims to further aggrandize his criminal reputation. I, as a law-abiding citizen, approached this jogger along with a friend of mine in peace. In peace. I came in peace, and all I had was a 12-gauge shotgun in my hands. And he completely freaked out, like he was like high on drugs or something. He attacked me for no reason, none. I did nothing wrong. The call was perfect. The call was perfect. The cops listened to me and they said, they were a little bit concerned about me possibly having post-traumatic stress disorder over this incident because I was so shaken up. The cops told me to go ahead and skip the police interrogation. They was like, you know what, Jamal? We're going to skip the police interrogation today. You go ahead and go home to your girlfriend because you need some comfort right now. The New York City Police Department has always been so considerate when it comes to black men staying close to their loved ones in times of stress. Let me tell you, most black men will tell you that police officers on a whole are very, very polite when dealing with us. Of course you believe that. So I went home, and there was no accountability for what I had done. Nobody was seeking to hold me accountable for what I had done. Oh, wait, there was that time. The district attorney did call me, and he very, very seriously told me congratulations for defending the community against a criminal outsider. He said I did nothing wrong. He said the call was perfect. I did nothing wrong. The district attorney told me that this white jogger may have committed crimes in the past, and if so, I probably did the world a favor if he committed crimes in the past, which he probably did. The district attorney said, this is what he said when he called me. He said he may have to see me in court one day soon to charge me with the key to the city for being so heroic, even though I had the benefit of 2 against 1. The end. Now, if you listen to this story at all over the last 5 minutes or so, then you've probably realized that it is not true at all. It's a lie. It's prose. It's told for dramatic effect. And the point is to ask you now. The story was a lie, but what if it wasn't? What if we actually lived in a world where I could act as I described and then escape without any accountability? That's the theme of the show, accountability. Unfortunately, we do live in a world like that. This story is a similar tale to what happened in Ahmaud Arbery's situation in February of this year in Georgia, when he was chased down by an armed father and son named McMichaels while jogging. Because you see, they thought he may be the criminal that was robbing houses in the area. There was a robbery, it was a spate of robberies in the area. They see this black guy jogging through, and they're like, that's the guy. That's the guy. How do we know that's the guy? He's not from here, and he's black. And this is not a black area, so, what's he doing here? Sort of like my story, right? By the way, there were no reports of robberies in the area. Oh, that's a lie, actually. I'm lying. I just caught myself lying. There was a report about a robbery in the area filed by a father and son team called the McMichaels. Oh, it's the same guys that killed this guy are the only ones that ever filed a report about robberies in the area. So they gave themselves a reason to go down, chasing guys that they thought committed these robberies. And even in that report that they made, they didn't claim to have seen the thief. So, they didn't know what he looked like, but this guy must be him, right? So how did they know that Ahmaud Arbery was that criminal? Well, he was a black man running through a neighborhood that wasn't his. Of course, what else do you need to pull a shotgun on somebody? Then, to add insult to injury, the father and son murderers weren't even brought to the police station for questioning. Let me tell you again. The father and son murderers weren't even brought to the police station for questioning. There's no videotape interview or interrogation. My friends, if you shot a dog in the streets in any city in America, the cops will come to your house and take you to jail for at least a night. At least a night. Nobody's going to watch you kill a dog in broad daylight without raising holy hell about it. If you don't believe me, please videotape yourself killing a dog and put it on YouTube. There will be a price in your head before you even close the laptop. Let me tell you, the only reason why these guys finally got arrested last week is because there was a video. Just like years back, there was a case in California where the cops beat on a guy, Rodney King. And the only reason why it ever got prosecuted and some cops spent time in jail was because of the video. We don't get the benefit of the doubt out here. And to be honest, the guy who took the video, he was on the side of the killers. He released the video because he thought he was helping the two murderers prove that they were attacked and were forced to use the shotgun they pulled on Mr. Arbery. Excuse me, that's coronavirus. The videographer didn't even think that his white friends might be held accountable due to this video. He thought they would get off because of this video. In fact, what's really wrong here is that they saw nothing wrong with pulling a shotgun on a young black man and accusing him of a crime he knew nothing about while he was jogging. If this guy in the cell phone video had not released the video, we would have another Trayvon Martin case. A case where there's no justice served to the victim. We are hoping for justice in this case, though. As of now, all hell is breaking loose in honor of this young man, Ahmaud Arbery. And I need to honor him by pronouncing his name right. We will be following this story. And you know what? This is a good time to wash your hands. Get the dirt off. Sing happy birthday twice. And then come back and join me for the last segment of the Jamal Show on WKND and on podcast. I'm going to take a break. And I'm going to ask you to meet me on the other side. This is Sharon the G. I hope you like it. See what I tried to do there? People used to be complaining about me looking down, so now I'm doing the telephone for them. Okay, it looks like I might be shut down a little early. We'll see. We'll see how much material I have left.
If you go early, you can just roll out with music.
Yeah, not only that, but I also have another song I want to play that was kind of inspired that I skipped last week. Okay. So we'll see what happens. I'm gonna try to pace myself through this.
Okay.
It sound good?
Yeah.
Okay.
What are your thoughts about sticking around here or moving to another location? It all depends if we have money after the closing costs.
I think. Let's talk about this. We need to set up a meeting outside of the station.
Yeah.
Because when I'm done with this show, I'm just like, oh. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I
need that mindset. Yeah.
Yeah, I put so much in, like, to prepare for this. Yeah, that I just want to go home and drink a beer when I'm done. So let's make a plan to talk this week after we're done here. We'll make a schedule. Sometime when you're free, I can come to you, I can come to your job, whatever. I'm actually more free than you because I'm working from home now. And just the fact that I'm working from home.
Yeah, I'm working days now, so I'm like until 4.
That's fine. Yeah. I'm working from home, but my schedule's flexible to work around what I want to do. But because I'm working from home, like my income is going up like $300 a week. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm the transportation. Anyway, let me get ready. But I can move around. I'm also working for clients here, so I might be able to move around. So I can come to you if you have time at your job or whatever I can work around your schedule. But I want to also set up like at least one monthly meeting apart from in the station,
Right.
where we can get away from the cameras and talk about what's really going on, talk about our plans. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And use that as strategic planning, because when I'm here,
It's not the.
yeah, I'm just like,
It's the show.
yeah. So when I'm done with this, like I want to be home so fast. Like I'm like bus. You know. And then I use the rest of the day on Saturdays to promote, because I'm online. I'm there. I got people that are volunteering for me now that are great. You know, yeah. So that's why I'm focusing on trying to put up this store. I'm gonna show it to you in a minute when we're done. What I'm doing, because I want to generate more income to pay some of these people. Like they're really putting time in, and they really believe in me, and they believe in the show. So I'm really gonna try. You know, it's funny. You never know what you're getting yourself into. You know. Let me get ready. Okay, that was Sharonda G. We played her once before. We called her something else, and her manager was like, "Oh no. He's like, no, brother. You got to get your own." You know, he's a very strong-headed manager. So Sharonda G, thank you for correcting us. It's my honor to welcome you back to the Jamal Show, the place to get intelligent. I am your host, Jamal from Harlem, and I sometimes jog in white neighborhoods. So we're going to ask you to keep your ears open for the Jamal Show store. We could use your support, and you could use ours, and you have it. Today's theme is accountability. We just talked a little bit about the lack of accountability shown by some Georgia law enforcement who thought it was just fine to let two people who committed murder in broad daylight go home and just think really hard about it. Think really hard about what you did. Stand in that corner. No arrest necessary for 2 months. Now I want to touch upon the accountability of government to us as citizens to treat us all equally in regards to this pandemic, particularly in regards to this pandemic. Every 2 weeks, I like to assess where we are in the world, in this new world, the world of pandemics and face masks and social distancing. And again, we have passed a few markers. Let me just say that I always forget my mask at home, and that's something that I always regret, because when I get to the store, they're like, "Dude, you're not coming in." And I hate wearing masks, by the way. I know nobody likes it. It makes me feel like I'm being smothered. I'm one of the Smothers brothers. But I wouldn't be here on time if I didn't have my face mask in my pocket. That Uber driver was like, "Nah, I'm not feeling." She might be listening to me right now, and she was like, "Nah, I'm not feeling you, bro. Where's your mask at? Put it on, sir." Put the cup in the cup holder, sir. So anyway, we're at the point now where over 87,000 people are dead, in addition to the people who would already be dead if we weren't in a pandemic. So we are roughly still doubling the American death rate. But there are signs of hope. States are slowly opening to their own pace. Of course, I happen to be in the state that's going to open last, in Connecticut, right? So here I am waiting for a gym. Every other state in the union has gyms open, except mine. Some of the hot spots like New York and New Jersey have cooled down. We still have a ways to go to see how this virus reacts long term to our social distancing efforts. Rates have been climbing more in the Midwest, but let's be honest. There's like 10 people who live in the Midwest, and they don't seem to care much about this virus. In the Midwest, they keep showing up for protests in public without masks on. And guns, like they can shoot a virus. Threatening the governor's lives and whatnot, threatening the politicians' lives. I'm starting to think that the worst virus is some of the people who live in this country, who think it's funny to put a hit on the governor's life on Facebook. But I digress. Let me not get too far off my point. One of the big things that have come out in this pandemic is that it spotlights how people of color are ultimately treated as second-class citizens in this country. This has been apparent in terms of access to health care, because black people are the last to be treated or covered by a good medical care. So blacks are dying at a higher percentage from COVID-19 as a result of this fact. Like my friend, for example, he actually had good health care, Jason. But here we are. Blacks are being treated as second-class citizens in terms of law enforcement, where in New York City, a majority of the tickets given out for violating stay-at-home orders were given to poor people of color. Even though people of color make up a majority of the city's essential workers that are supposed to be out. Last night, someone actually sent me a video of a single mother being dragged off a New York City subway train in front of her child for not wearing a mask. That's great, isn't it? Let's give a child post-traumatic stress syndrome so that her mother knows to wear a mask next time. That seems like to be Gestapo-level fascism. People of color are being treated as second-class citizens when it comes to the emergency aid to help small businesses as well. As it turns out, a lot of this money that was given out to businesses that were not so small, like the LA Lakers, Shake Shack, billion-dollar companies, was supposed to go to small businesses, but it never made it there. People of color who had no big banking relationships got screwed, and a lot of them won't be able to open their doors again, even after this pandemic is over. As a side note, by the way, the entities that need money now the most are the states. The states are clamoring for money. They've gone bankrupt on this. They're trying to cover their tremendous losses from coronavirus relief efforts for their citizens. And this is important because this money would be used to pay the essential workers. But the Senate is balking at this idea. The Senate is saying that some states may have to actually go bankrupt to make up for this shortfall of money. And guess who would end up paying for that? Unions. Unions. The things we need the most in the world right now. The thing that bridges the gap between the poor and the rich. The thing that has done more to create the middle class in America than any other entity. Unions. Unions are made up of working class people who are largely people of color. At least in the big cities they are. And they're going to end up taking the biggest hit. Teachers, sanitation workers, bus drivers. When the states go broke, those are the people that are going to take the hit first. So we need to be cognizant of this. But I got to say, the worst way that people of color have been treated as second-class citizens is again in the language of stand-up comedian Trump. And hold your crap. Please don't tell me that the language doesn't mean anything. Language means everything. If you don't believe me, go tell your wife you hate her right now as you hand her roses. You do not know a man except through everything he has ever communicated to you. That's the only thing you know about any man, even your father, is what he's communicated to you. Through words or actions. What I'm alluding to is stand-up comedian Trump's most recent performance on the White House stage, where he played the role of a man who wasn't corrupt himself, but one that is bristling from the made-up corruption of one Barack Obama. In other words, Trump, the famous comedian, spent time this week telling everybody that Obama is responsible for committing crimes. What crimes, you ask? Don't be silly. Yes, those crimes, the fictional ones. Jamal Show listeners, stand-up comedian Trump is making up crimes to decry Barack Obama. And I know Obama can defend himself. He doesn't need my defense. But what this really is stand-up comedian Trump trying to belittle the black community by ridiculing and stereotyping a black role model in front of stand-up comedian Trump's base for laughs, which is what every comedian would do, honestly. Because stand-up comedian Trump can't name any actual crimes that Obama committed, that shows you where it's coming from. It's basically just a slogan in search of a crime. From the party of racial resentment. Not the party of family values. The party now is of racial resentment. I know you don't believe me. So I went ahead, when I got up this morning, I put a clip in my pocket. A clip of Trump decrying Barack Obama for made-up crimes. The bishop was looking at me like, what are you talking about? Trump? Trump wouldn't decry Barack Obama for crimes that he didn't commit, would he? Well, Bishop, listen here. Listen here. You won't even believe me.
Mr. President, in one of your Mother's Day tweets, you appear to accuse President Obama of the biggest political crime in American history by far. Those were your words. What crime exactly are you accusing President Obama of committing, and do you believe the Justice Department should prosecute him?
Obamagate. It's been going on for a long time. It's been going on from before I even got elected, and it's a disgrace that it happened. And if you look at what's gone on, and if you look at now all of this information that's being released, and from what I understand, that's only the beginning. Some terrible things happened, and it should never be allowed to happen in our country again. And you'll be seeing what's going on over the coming weeks. I wish you'd write honestly about it, but unfortunately, you choose not to do so. Yeah, John, please.
What is the crime exactly that you're accusing him of?
You know what the crime is. The crime is very obvious to everybody. All you have to do is read the newspapers, except yours.
You heard that, right? Bishop, in regards to the crime that Barack Obama did, all you got to do is read the newspapers. You obviously haven't been reading the newspapers. You know, all we got to do is read. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the theme of this show is accountability. And this clip is how you sound when you haven't been held accountable for anything you've done or said during your entire life. Not much of what stand-up comedian says affects me these days, because you just never know what's the truth when he opens his mouth. But this did affect me when he made up crimes for an innocent black man, because it struck me that this practice of making innocent black men into criminals happens to be in line with American history. And that's why it's deemed as acceptable coming from stand-up comedian Trump. So I know I'm running out of time. I'd like to read for you a very short piece that I published on Medium.com, which is a website. It's a website for writers. I'm a writer. I like to consider myself one. A lot of people would disagree with that, so I'll put that out there. If you like this piece, you can look up my other writings on Medium.com. So here we go. Some people are outraged that Trump is calling Obama a criminal without naming a crime. Please allow me to point out that blaming innocent black men for crimes they never committed is right in line with American history and culture. It has been deemed as completely acceptable to the majority. It has even happened to me. Let's check the Innocence Project, for example. Almost every man proven innocent by DNA decades later after serving a lifetime in prison is a man of color. It's as American as apple pie. And this is not the first time Trump has done this. He did the exact same thing with the exonerated Central Park 5, taking ads out in the paper, asking for the death penalty when the victim didn't even die. Even the crime 14-year-old Emmett Till was tortured and killed for, which was whistling at a white woman, and I say crime in quotes, that was completely made up by the victim. That kid hadn't even hit puberty yet. In fact, if you don't believe me that this is right in line with American culture, then watch how many white people vote for Trump anyway. Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't bother them at all that the president of supposedly everybody makes up fictional crimes for oppressed minorities that he is supposed to represent. Nothing is wrong with that. The golden rule be damned. That's been happening forever. Thank you, coronavirus. It's the normal course of business to imprison black people for nothing. Any corrections officer that you know will agree. Ask them. Al Sharpton offended a white cop 30 years ago, and I still have to hear about it. Donald Trump makes up fictional crimes for a black man who happened to be the president, and he did that yesterday, and he can still comfortably rely on the majority of the white vote. He's not even worried about it. The white vote is not even threatened by him making up crimes, fictional crimes, openly, in broad daylight, about a black president. The first black president. This gives rise to the idea that the majority of whites who vote actually approve of this behavior. If they didn't, he wouldn't be able to get away with it. The majority of whites wouldn't vote for him or if they didn't sign on to this behavior. But they do. He gets their votes with no problem at all. They crowd around wherever he goes. In fact, and this might be a minority of white people, but still a majority voted for him. In fact, white people tell me every day, white friends of mine tell me every day how certain they are that Trump will win again, that he will win re-election, no matter what he says or does to any minority. That seems strange to you? Bernie Sanders marched for civil rights. We have pictures of him marching for civil rights. But now even some of his white supporters openly flirt with voting for Trump. As if human rights were just a joke for them to play around with when they're disappointed. Oh, well, you know, why not be a Nazi then? Bernie can't win. It makes logical sense to try Nazism. You know what I'm saying? Let's play around with a little racism, huh? The truth is that any official who makes up fictional crimes for anybody is committing a human rights violation against that person. People have been killed over stuff like this. You have the God and country-given right not to be publicly decried for crimes you never committed. And you know what, people? So does Barack Obama. As a symbol, as a role model, as a person. Every time stand-up comedian Trump does something like this, he takes away from another person's humanity. But that's all right for a majority of whites, right? I wish I could say I'm surprised, but history has warned me about this. And so we are at 10:56. I'm making great time. The bishop is smiling on me today. My station managers will not be throwing me out, and you will be seeing me again in 2 weeks. It has been my honor to have you join me for this broadcast. I will see you in 2 weeks, my friends, and I want to send a shout out to my loved ones and all the people who volunteer with me on this show. I mean, Ty Bless, Matt Warner, that guy who won't be named, who hates publicity, who helps me so much. Thank you so much, fam. I love you all. I am out. Take me out, Bishop.
No.
That ended off right.